Welcome to the channel. It's Team Money Magic coming at you with some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle draft content. Today we're going to be looking over the multicolor artifacts and lands for this format. This is going to be my grade for each of these cards. It is only for your limited draft and pre-release. I have no clue how these cards are going to do in other formats. The way that we're going to do this is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to put up the card. Beside this card, there's going to be a letter grade. An A means it's a bomb. It's a card that's just going to win you a game. A B is a card that's like a very solid card. You'll be very happy to play it. It might not exactly be a card that's going to win all by its own, but it is going to be a glue piece that makes your deck really pop. A C is a card that you can take or leave. A lot of times they're just kind of filler cards. They're good enough to make the deck, but you're not going to feel bad if you have to cut one or two of them. A D is a very situational card. It's only good in a very, very specific deck or a very specific situation or like a very nice sideboard card. And then an F is a card that you just cannot play in limited. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. Everything that you do helps the channel grow and helps me become a better Magic player along the way. And with that, let's go ahead and dive in.
First card we have is Baxter Stockman. He is 5 mana, including 1 in blue and 1 in red. He's a legendary creature, human scientist. That uncommon. It says when Baxter Stockman enters and create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target artifact creature you control gains +3/+0 against first strike and vigilance until end of turn. I don't think this card's very good. I think it's pretty understated. If you're paying 5 mana, even though you're getting 2 bodies out of it, the 2 bodies that you're getting are understated as well. So when I say understated, typically if you're paying 5 mana, you would at least want 5 power and 5 defense in total. This gives you a 3/3 and a 1/3. So it's only 4/4 in total. It is 2 bodies, and that does matter in limited. But I do think it's very situational. I think having a 1/1 token is very easy to get rid of by your opponents. And I think overall, like the +3 ability to give something first strike and vigilance just isn't going to come into play too often. There are a few artifacts. I think there's one 2 mana blue that you'll see in a later video that has flying. It's a 1/1. So if that happens to still be around and you can turn it into a 3/1 with first strike and vigilance flying, that's a little bit better. But overall, I mean, even with some of the artifact synergy going on, I just don't think this card's going to get there for you. And therefore, it's going to be a very, very situational card. Next up, we have Bebop and Rocksteady. It is 3 mana in total, including 2 in a black-green hybrid mana. It's a legendary creature, Boar Rhino Mutant at rare. It says whenever Bebop and Rocksteady attack or block, sacrifice a permanent unless you discard a card. It is a 7/5. So this is an interesting card. 3 mana for a 7/5, unlike the card that we just previewed that was not statted very well. This one is statted great. However, because of that, it does come with the downside, meaning that you have to sacrifice or discard something. Now, again, in limited, it's kind of like if you have this card early and you're able to cast it on curve, so you play it as your 3-drop, and then the next turn you're able to start swinging. You can get rid of lands or creatures that are too big. It's going to feel pretty great because it is so overly statted. But if you get this in the late game, I think your opponent's going to be stable enough, and you're not going to have really the permanents laying around that you're really going to want to sacrifice for it, and you're not going to have the cards in your hand to be able to make it do its thing. And then, regardless of anything, it's a creature that doesn't necessarily do anything. There's no inner ability. There's no when it leaves ability. So it's just kind of like an overstated 3 mana card. There's so much removal in this set. In every set, you always got to be on the lookout for removal. And in that situation, it's like, what is this card bringing to the table? I think it's a card that you're going to play. I think that there's a lot of uncommons that are better than it that you'll take over it. And that just kind of makes it like an okay card. Next up, we have Brilliance Unleashed. It is for 6 mana in total, including 1 in red and 1 in blue. It is a sorcery at uncommon. It says choose one or both. Brilliant Unleashed deals 5 damage to target creature. And then the second ability says choose target artifact card in your graveyard, return it to the battlefield if it's an artifact creature card. Otherwise, return it to the battlefield, and it's a 3/3 robot artifact creature with flying. There are a decent amount of artifacts in this set that aren't creatures, and that would make it feel pretty good. Dealing 5 damage is something while you also add to the board feels great. I think this card is going to be pretty good. It is 6 mana, and that is a lot of mana in limited. But if you can get to it, you're probably wiping out one of their biggest threats while also adding to your board, especially if you're in the red-blue color pairing, because that's what that color cares about. So all that, I think, makes this a pretty decent card. you're going to be very happy to have it, at least one copy of it, and probably only one copy of it, but you will be happy to have at least one copy of it in your, is it artifacts deck. Next up, we have Dark Leo and Shudder. It is for 1 white and 1 black mana. It's a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle Human. It plays Sneak for 1 white and a black as well. The Sneak ability is a lot like Ninjutsu. Both abilities, if you're a new player, so Sneak is basically if you go to attack your opponent and then they don't have a way to block your creature, you can pay the Sneak cost. You do have to do this ability on declare blocks. So, like, if you let's say that you have another creature on the battlefield. If you swing in, they don't block, and then you do damage with that creature. Well, then you can no longer pay for the sneak ability. You do have to pay the sneak ability up front. Since this is a creature, that means that it will replace the creature that's attacking with itself. And when it comes down, it will also be attacking. It says attacking ninjas you control have Death Touch, which means that it would give itself Death Touch, but not that that would matter because nothing's blocking it. That's the only way the sneak ability activates. And it says when Dark Leo and Shredder deal combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 black ninja creature token. Then, if you control 5 or more ninjas, that player loses half of their life rounded up. So, surprisingly for the Ninja Turtle set, I think it's going to be very hard to have 5 ninjas. I really do. A lot of them are at legendary creature status. So, like, you're only going to be able to have so many of them. I think if you're able to get 5 or 6 ninjas, and again, this does create a token that's a ninja, so I think that'll help a little bit. But that ability, I feel like it's going to be really, really hard to happen. Now if you are able to make it happen, it's going to feel great. In limited, rounding half your opponent's life, it doesn't, it doesn't really matter, especially by the time you have 5 ninjas on the battlefield. You've probably already won the game anyways. White, black, obviously they care about sneak and things like that. So there might be some additional triggers from that. But overall, I think this is more of like it's going to fit into very certain decks and it's going to feel okay in those decks, but it's not going to be like a rare card or sorry, this is a mythic. It's not going to be a mythic card that's like going to absolutely break the game, at least not in a limited format. Next up, we have Don and Leo, problem solvers for 5 mana, including 2 mana. That's in the white-blue hybrid combination. It's a legendary creature. It's a mutant ninja turtle. At Rager, it says Vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact you control and up to 1 target creature you control, then return those to the battlefield or their owner's hands. It's a 4/6. So, a 5 mana 4/6 is a pretty well statted card. That's a card you're going to be okay with playing. It has Vigilance, which is also great. And on top of all that, having the blink ability, there's a lot of creatures nowadays and artifacts and things like that has enters triggers that you're going to be really, really happy to do. So I think that makes this a really, really great card. You're going to be very, very happy to have it. And because it's hybrid mana, which we've learned from the previous Lorwyn set, hybrid mana is a lot different than actually having you have to pay a certain mana value. So you can slide this into any white deck, you can slide it into any blue deck, especially by the time you have 5 mana. You're more than likely going to be able to cast this on curve, even with like the having to have like a double hybrid pip. If you're only in one of the 2 colors that it's showing, it's going to be a great card. You're going to be very happy to play it. You're going to take it very highly in your drafts. The next card we have Don and Ralph, Hard Science. It is for 3 mana, including 2 in a blue-red hybrid combination. It is a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. It's got Menace. It says, whenever Don and Ralph attack, the next non-creature spell that you cast this turn has affinity for artifacts. That means it costs 1 less for each artifact you control, and it is a 2/4. So, unlike the card that we just previewed, 3 mana with a double pip, that does make it a little bit harder. There's a lot of times you're not going to be able to cast this on curve if you're only in one of the 2 colors provided. I do keep in mind the red-blue color, which is where you're most likely going to want to play a card like this. They do care about artifacts. There's a lot of artifacts and things like that. I still don't really think, there's not really a world like in limited. There's just not a world where you're going to be able to cast too much stuff for too high of a discount. It's going to feel great if you can, but most of the time, like even if you get a discount of like 1 or 2, like it can kind of break the game in limited and things like that. So I do think this is more one of those situational cards. A 3 mana 2/4 is right where you want to be statted. It does have menace, so it's harder to block it and things of that nature. So, there is a lot of upside to this card, but I think like the floor of it is pretty bad too. And all that just kind of makes it an okay card. Next up, we have EPF Point Squad. It is for 3 mana, including 2 and a red-white hybrid mana. It's a creature human soldier. It's got Alliance. It says whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Starts out as a 2/1. This card's pretty bad. So 3 mana 2/1 is super understated. Even being in like a Boros color, which is good, more of an aggressive color, it just comes in so understated. Even by having, like, let's say you have another mana, your next turn, you have 4 mana, you lay down 2/2/2s, and then it becomes a 4/3. That's still not necessarily that at that point in the game, a great attacker. And this is going to feel awful if you're in top deck mode. Like there's no good, there's nothing good that's coming out of laying a 3 mana 2/1 down when you are trying to find ways to win out a game. So I think all of that makes this really, really bad. You're not going to want to take this unless you absolutely have to. Next up, we have Foot Elite. Is for 3 mana, including 1 in the white-black hybrid mana. It's a creature ninja, human ninja. It says whenever this creature attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. So 3 mana 2/4, again, that's a perfectly fine static creature. The fact that it is only 1 hybrid mana pip means that you can slide it into any black deck or any white deck and not have a problem casting it on curve for the most part. And, the fact that another creature that you control gets indestructible until the turn, that's nothing to scoff at. I mean, it is just a vanilla, on its own, it's a 3 mana 2/4, which is like fine, but like you're not breaking the game with that or anything like that. But I did think the upside of being able to attack with multiple creatures, especially in like white, which is like more aggressive, black is kind of more grindy, but you can still use it to your advantage. It's still going to make it an overall like a good filler card. You're gonna, and that's common, so you'll probably get it later on in the draft. So with all that being said, I think it's a fine playable. Next up, we have Foot Ninjas. It is for 6 mana, including 2 in a black-white hybrid combination. It is a human ninja. You can sneak it in for 3 generic and a white-black hybrid combination. And again, for the card that we mentioned earlier about sneak, you can cast a spell for the reduced mana cost if you also return an unblocked attacker you control to hand during the declare block step. It enters tapped and attacking. So again, has to do it before damage goes through. Like you have to do it during the declared blocker step. So before anything else. So once your opponent has officially declared their blockers, you could say, okay, now I'm going to cast this. And then when it enters, you gain 3 life. So a 6 mana 5/5 that gains you 3 life is already okay. It's a little understated, but because of that additional life game in the late game, you're going to be happy to play it. Now, if you're able to play 4 mana for a 5/5 that is not only swinging and attacking, but you're also gaining 3 life, that is the difference in like an 8-point swing in total, because you're gaining 3 and they're losing 5. So altogether, that's an 8-point difference, which is huge in limited games. So you're going to be very, very happy to play this. The fact that, again, it is a hybrid mana, but it costs a lot of mana to get it. You're pretty much always going to be able to play this by turn 6. You're going to be able to play it by turn 4 if you have the mana and the unblockable creature to be able to do it. I think it's a great common. You're going to be very happy to have it in your deck. Next up, we have Genghis Frog. It is for 1 green and 1 blue. It's a legendary creature, frog, mutant, rogue, at uncommon. It's got trample. It says whenever the frog or another mutant you control enters, create a mutagen token. A mutagen token is it's a new mechanic for this set. It's an artifact, and you can pay 1 generic, sacrifice it, and put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature. You can only do this as a sorcery. So a 2 mana 1/3 with trample is, not that great. It's fine. It's a fine static creature. 2 mana 1/3 cards typically do well because in the early game they can, help you stabilize because it's a big enough defensive card that it can take some damage and it not necessarily, it can help you stabilize until the late game. This does get better because you do get a mutagen token with it. And then anytime that another mutant you control enters, you also get another one. Because it's not any creature and it is a mutant creature, that does make it a little bit more situational, but there's enough mutants in this set. You're still going to be able to get a token enough times. And, if you're able to grow this or use it to grow other creatures, when you think of like a blue-green color pair, they're kind of like grindier. Blue's a little bit more grindier. Green is a little bit more aggressive with big creatures. So if you already are laying down like a big green creature and you're able to make it even bigger, or if you're slow enough in your blue control style that you can get to the late game, and then you can start pumping out and swinging in with your bigger creatures. I think it's going to be a fine card. You're going to be able to get it later on in the draft because it's very specific to certain decks. So if you're in this color pair, I think you're going to be happy to have it. I think it's a card that can really help you stabilize in the late game and get to the late game because of the defensive stat of this card. Next up, we have Go Ninja Go. It is for 1 red and 1 white. It's a sorcery. You can choose one or both. You can exile target creature you control and then return it to the battlefield under your control. And the next ability is Go Ninja Go deals damage equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, target creature and opponent controls. So this is pretty solid. It does give you the ability to blink something that gives you an Ender's trigger, and also probably will let you deals with another one of their creatures. This is one of those weird 2-mana cards because typically you want to be doing things on curve, right? So like if you have an option to do a 1-drop, you want to play your 1-drop, a 2-drop, you want to play your 2-drop. This is a card that's actually better, even though it's a 2-drop, if you have it later on, so that you're able to get the most out of it with both of its abilities. But I think this is a very solid card, especially in like your red white color pairing, which is typically like the more aggressive aggro. Like you're going to have enough creatures laying around. A lot of them are going to have some enters abilities, and then if you're able to, if you have like a decent enough powered creature that can take out one of their bigger threats, or at least like a larger threat, you're going to be happy with that. I think it's a great card. You're going to take it very highly. The next card we have up is Ice Cream Kitty. It is for 2 mana, including 1 and a green black hybrid mana. It's an artifact creature. It says it's a food cat mutant at common. You can pay 2 and sacrifice another creature or token and draw a card. You can only do this as a sorcery. You can pay 2 and sacrifice this creature to gain 3 life, and it is a 1/3. I think this card's great. In typical black-green fashion, they care about artifacts, they care about sacrificing things, and this allows you to do both, which is great. The fact that like if you need it, like if you draw this late and you have the mana laying around and you can lay this down and then use its first ability to draw more cards is awesome. If you're needing it to stabilize to gain a little bit more life, you can do that as well. And again, because if you're in this color pair, there's probably some other things that even if you're sacrificing this card, you're gonna get other triggered abilities off your other cards that support this one. So all that makes this a very great common. You're gonna be very happy to play it. Next up, we have Kari. It is Future of the Foot. It's for 3 mana, including 1 in white and 1 in black. It's a legendary creature, human ninja. You can sneak it in for 2 generic, a white and a black. And again, you may cast a spell for 2 generic, a white, and a black if you also return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand during the declare blocker step. She enters tapped and attacking. She says, whenever Kari deals combat damage to a player, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If her sneak cost was paid this turn, instead return that card to the battlefield. So this is pretty solid. You're going to be happy, even if you just have to play her as like a 3 mana 3/3, you're going to be okay with that. Like it's perfectly fine and statted. Especially if you already have some stuff in the graveyard. So there's a good chance that like if you're just curving out that you're going to have decent enough attacks that she might be able to get in, or it might put your opponent in a bad situation to block her. You're going to be okay with getting them to your hand. She's going to feel absolutely nuts if you are able to cast her for the 4 mana and then you get to return something to the battlefield, especially if it was something that you had to discard earlier on that's like much higher powered creature or anything like that. But even if like you just paid 4 mana for her, she got to swing in, you deal 3 damage to your opponent, and you got like a 2 mana or another 3 mana card from the graveyard to your battlefield, like that's going to feel incredible. You're going to be very happy to play her in the right deck. I think she's a great card. Next, we have Kari's Technique. It is for 3 mana, including 1 in white and 1 in black. It's a sorcery. You can sneak this in for white and black. This is also kind of what makes Sneak different than Ninjutsu. Ninjutsu was only for creatures, whereas Sneak is, obviously not just for creatures. It does still have the same effect. So it is a sorcery card, but using the Sneak ability, you can cast it as if it like wasn't a sorcery card for the unblock. But again, you have to do it on an unblock attacker. You have to do it like after blocks are declared and before you actually go to damage. So you can choose one or both with this. Target creature gets +3/+3, and target creature gets -3/-3. So if you paid 3 mana for a +3/+3 and a -3/-3 at sorcery speed, you'd be okay with that. Like that's fine. If you're in a situation where you're already kind of running away with the game and you can use this to essentially get rid of 2 of their creatures because you use the sneak ability to bounce one of the creatures that wasn't getting blocked from you to your hand to give another one of your creatures +3/+3. That's probably wiping out whatever their big threat is, while also giving another one of their creatures -3/-3. And you end up with like a crazy, 2-for-1. If a lot of times you're going to have the mana to relay down to your creature, and then it becomes a 3-for-1. Like, this is a great card. You're going to be very, very happy to play it in either mode. Okay to play it as a sorcery. You're okay to play it in the sneak cost. Great card. Excellent choice. Green one. Next, green one. Krang and Shredder. It's for 6 mana, including 2 and a blue-black hybrid mana cost. It is a legendary creature, Ultron Human Ninja. At rare, it says whenever Krang and Shredder. Green one. Excuse me. Whenever Krang and Shredder enter or attack, each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an on-lane card. It has Disappear, which means at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, you may cast a card exiled with Krang and Shredder without paying its mana cost. I think this card is very solid top end card. It's greatly statted. 6 mana for 6/7 is great. The fact that whenever it enters, you get this ability as well. So it's not just an attack ability. You also get it when it just straight up enters. And then because it's in black, there's also a good chance that you'll have ways that you can have your permanents leave the battlefield. It does say left the battlefield. So also, like with blue, you can bounce things back to your hands, and that would still count. And if you're able to rip through your opponent's deck and cast, something for them, even if it's something cheap, a 2 mana, 3 mana, either way, it's like insane value that you're getting. You're still getting a hit on board. And the fact that like it's in the right color pairing for this to really make a splash. And then, having a 6/7 body is nothing to scoff at. Like, they're going to have to, block it. They're going to have to put themselves in crazy situations to make sure that, and because it's attack ability, even if they're able to block it, you still get the trigger. I think this card is excellent. You're going to be very happy to have it. Next up, we have the Last Rowan. It is for 6 mana in total, including 1 in green and 1 in black. It is a saga. The chapter 1 says destroy all creatures. Chapter 2 says mill 4 cards. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And chapter 3 says whenever creature you control attacks alone this turn, put 3+1/+1 counters on it. It gains trample, lifelink, and indestructible until end of turn. Is that mythic? This card is insane. It's great. Anytime that you're able to wipe the board in limited, it's great, especially if like you're wiping the board knowing that you're going to get something good for yourself back. So there's a world where like you wipe the board the very next turn, whatever your best creature was, you mill the 4 cards and then pick that, because you don't have to pick from the 4 cards that you milled. It's any card in your graveyard. So you're able to get your best creature back on and then get it back online. Then you get to chapter 3, and that's probably going to be your, because you just wiped the board the last turn, so you're probably only going to have 1, maybe 2 creatures on the battlefield. And if you end up just swinging with 1 creature alone, you're going to make it even bigger. It's going to get trampled. It's going to get lifelink and indestructible. It's going to put your opponent in a really bad place. I think this is one of the best cards in the set. It's a bomb. You're going to take it every time. It's just, it'll just win you the game. The next card up is Lessons of Life. It is for 4 mana, including 1 in green and 1 in blue. It's a sorcery. It says draw 3 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So 4 mana to essentially ramp, right? Like, so 4 mana, this doesn't count as your land drop for turn. So like if you've already laid a land, you still get to lay down an additional land. And then you still have, another 2 cards from the 3 that you drawn, or the 3 cards that you drawn if you already have the extra land in your hand. So you could potentially end up with 6 mana for your next turn and a card advantage. I think that makes it pretty solid. The downside is limited is becoming just as fast as all the other formats. So 4 mana card that doesn't straight up just do something for you is gonna not feel that great. It's just depending on what your opponent's doing on their side of the board. If they're already snowballing and all you're doing is dirtling around, it might be too late, and this card might cost you. But green, blue has some stuff going on that can kind of help you stabilize in the early game, or at least get to the later part of the game where you can really take it over. All that, I think, makes it more of a situational card. If you're in the green-blue deck, you're going to at least want to have 1 copy of this, but in every other kind of deck, you can probably skip on it. Like, it's not a card that's worth splashing or anything like that. So yeah, all that, I think it's just an okay card. Next up, we have Mechanized Ninja Cavalry. It is for 2 mana, including 1 in a red-white hybrid. It's an artifact creature, robot ninja. It says when this creature enters, create a 1/1 colorless artifact token. So a 2 mana that creates you 2 1/1s is great value. The fact that it is both red and white means that you can slide it into either one of those decks. Red cares about artifacts. White cares about being aggressive. And this does both of those. So you're going to be very happy to play this card. I think it's going to be one of the better commons in the set. You're going to be happy to have it. Next up, we have Mikey and Don Party Planners. It's for 4 mana, including 2 and a green-blue hybrid. It says it's a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle at rare. It's got War 2. You can look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast Mutant Ninja or Turtle spells from the top of your library. If you cast creature spells this way, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So this is card advantage. It is understated, so 4 mana 3/3 is a little understated, but it does have War 2. There's a world where if you're only in green or you're only in blue, that you're not necessarily able to cast this on turn 4, and that'll be less good. But you can still easily slide it into those decks, either one of those decks. Both of them are going to have enough of the mutants, ninjas, and turtles. And every deck has lands. So, you're going to be happy to have that going on and being able to cast that from the top. It helps you get to larger things, helps you dig deeper into your deck. And the fact that they enter with that additional +1/+1 counter. I think this is a great card. And because of the hybrid mana, you can build around it in either the blue or green color. And that makes it like, a lot of times if you have like a great card, but it forces you into certain color pairing, you're less likely to take that, even if it's a great card, just because if it's early in the draft, you don't want to do that. This card, you don't really run into that issue. So I think all that makes this a really great card. You're going to be very happy to have it. Next up, we have Mikey and Leo, Chaos and Order. It is for 2 hybrid mana in the green and white combination. It's a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. At rare, it says whenever you put a counter on a creature you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, green, white, they care about counters. This is a 2 mana 2/2, which is already like okay. And it does have additional upside. Again, you can slide it into a white deck or a green deck. It doesn't have to be a white green deck specifically. I do think because of the double mana cost, like it's going to be really hard to cast it on turn 2, and that's kind of you want to have this card out early so that you can start getting that draw ability as soon as possible. Because if you draw this in the late game, you're not getting any value out of it. It is a little bit of a situational card, but we've seen in the past so many cards that do this as a very similar ability, and they all end up being fine and limited. I don't think this one's going to be any different. You are going to want it more in your green-white color pair. If you get this turn 2, if you get this on pack 1, there might be a situation where like you'd take an uncommon or something. But if you're already building around this and you get this in like pack 2 or pack 3, you're gonna feel incredible that you were able to get this card first. So all that I think makes it a pretty decent card. We have Mauser Mark III. It is for 2 mana, including 1 and a blue-red hybrid combination. It's an artifact creature robot. At common, it says this creature can't attack unless you control another artifact, and it's a 2/3. So an overstated 2 mana card, 2/3, but it does have the downside that you have to have at least another artifact. That's not going to be hard to do in blue or red. So it's not impossible, but it's also just like a 2 mana 2/3. So it might give you 1, maybe 2 good turns of attacks. And then after that, it becomes more and more irrelevant. And because it's not just like a straight up 2 mana 2/3, there has to be other stuff going on that makes it even less good. I think this is more of like a filler card, even more borderline situational than anything else. Like it's just going to be a card that you fill out your curve, but you're not going to feel great about having it. You're going to be okay cutting it. Next up, we have the Neutrinos. It is 4 mana, including 1 in red and 1 in white. It's got flying. It's a legendary creature, Elf Rebel. It's got Alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, the Neutrinos gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Whenever the Neutrinos attacks, exile up to 1 target creature card you control, then return to the battlefield under your control tapped and attacking. So this is going to be great there's a lot of cards that have enters abilities. It's going to feel great for that. It has flying, so it's going to be able to get in. 4 mana 2/4 with flying is like a pretty solid card. And the fact that like when another creature comes in, it gets even bigger, so it becomes a 3/4 that you can swing in with it, and it has that attack trigger. That can let's say that you live in a world where like whatever you brought in also creates another creature. This is for each individual creature. So there's a chance you're swinging in with a 4/4, a 5/4, a 6/4 even in the air, which is going to be hard to block. It's going to be one of your better like uncommons that you're going to want in your aggressive red-white decks. The fact that that's flying really helps you out because that's a big thing with these aggro decks, especially in limited. A lot of times they're aggro, they're low to the ground, and then if you have like bigger, beefier flyers, you just can't really stabilize and they'll end up running away with the game. This takes care of that because it does have a decent enough defensive stat that you can handle any threats in the air. It's going to hit like a train whenever it does go in for attacks on the offensive side. So all that makes it a great card. I think you're going to be very happy to play it. The next card that we have up is Nobody. It is for 3 mana, including 2 in a red-blue hybrid combination. It's an artifact creature, human hero. It says when this creature enters, return up to 1 target artifact you control to its owner's hand, and then you scry 1. It is a 3/2. Now, do keep in mind, you don't have to return another artifact you control to get that scry ability. They're 2 separate abilities because of the period. So either way, it's a 3 mana 3/2 that lets you scry 1. That's a decent card. If you have an artifact that has a strong enters ability, it might be worth it to put it back into your hand so that you can buy back that ability a second time. 3 mana 3/2 is a little bit understated, but I think the Scribe one makes it slightly better. Again, because it is double blue or double red, and it's 3 mana, there is a world where like you'd rather be in the blue red deck to really make sure that you can hit this on turn 3. Otherwise, it's going to feel really bad if you're unable to get it out on curve. So that does hold it back a little bit. It's a little understated. That also holds it back. But it's like a fine card. Like, if you have to use it to fill out your deck, you're going to be okay to do it because of the scry ability. Next up, we have Northwind Avatar. It's for 5 mana, including 2 in blue and 1 in red. It's a Dragon Spirit Avatar with flying. It says when this creature enters, if you cast it, you may put a card you own from outside the game into your hand. So this is interesting. This is clearly like more for like toolbox decks and like standard and modern and things like that. Being able to get something out of your sideboard. So it's basically always just going to be a 5 mana 5/5 and limited. Now, your whole thing about limited is your whole entire all your cards are technically your sideboard. So like you can play cards from your sideboard. It's going to be interesting how they use this on like Arena. If you were to draft this, if they just let you grab anything you want, because technically, all your cards are your sideboard. Whenever you're playing in limited, so that does make it a little bit more interesting. But overall, I don't think you're going to have too many crazy stuff. It's still a 5 mana 5/5 with flying. Like that's like the worst, and that's like the worst this card's going to be, which is incredible. It gives you a lot of upside because if you happen to have like an opponent that you weren't really prepared to play, and you can bring something in from your sideboard that you didn't even think would matter, and it does end up mattering, like that's going to feel really good. But other way, 5 mana 5/5 with flying, you're going to be happy to play it. It does kind of force you to be blue and red because of the cost that you're going to require to make it, but you're going to be happy to have this card. It's going to go great into your deck, and yeah, it's just a bomb. The next card we have is Pizza Face Gastromacer. It is for 5 mana, including 1 in green and 1 in black. It's a legendary artifact creature. It's a food mutant at uncommon. It says when Pizza Face enters, create a food token. As a disappear trigger, which means at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 other target artifact or creature. If it instant creature, it becomes a 0/3 mutant creature in addition to its type. You can pay 10, sacrifice it, you gain 15 life. You're hardly ever going to get to 10 mana in limited. Games are just too quick for that. If you are able to, it'll help you stabilize. And if you were able to do it, it'd probably be in like a grindier green-black deck anyways. But I think more importantly, like this is just like a solid card. It's a 5 mana 2/4, which is understated, but it also gives you a food token when it enters. The disappear is pretty solid. It's any permanent, so you can sacrifice the food, put 3 +1/+1 counters on any target, so you can target itself. So like if you cast this on turn 5, and then the next turn you sacrifice the food, and then you turn this into a 5/7, you're gonna feel pretty good about that. You can also use it on other cards, make them bigger, and it's a reoccurring ability. So if you have more food tokens laying around, or more things to sacrifice, or anything like that, or just creatures, leave the battlefield because of combat on your turn, all that's going to trigger this. It's going to kind of snowball some games. So it does start out understated, but I think the upside is enough that it's not just like, a bad card or even like a halfway decent playable card. Like it's a playable card. You're going to be happy to have it in your deck. Next up, we have Punk Frogs. It is 5 mana, including 2 in a green-blue hybrid combination. It's a creature frog mutant rebel at common. So it's got ward 3 and it's a 4/5. It's basically just a 5 mana 4/5 with some ward on it. You can do this in your green decks or in your blue decks. You're going to feel okay with either one. It's a mutant, which matters in the green-blue combination. So that makes it better. Sting said it's not a turtle because that's another big theme is like the turtle, but it does have the mutant ability. It does have a ward, so it's going to be harder to deal with. I just, a 5 mana 4/5 isn't that great. Just a little understated. Doesn't really do enough to make it feel crazy. The ward helps a little bit. The mutant helps a little bit, but I don't think it's enough to really make this a great card. It's just kind of it's an okay card, and that's about all there is to it. Next up, we have Future Pals. It is for 4 mana, including 2 in black green hybrid combination. It's a human ooze mutant at common. It's got Death Touch and also has Disappear. It says that this creature enters with 2+1/+1 counters on it if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn. So paying 4 mana for a 5/5 Death Toucher is crazy. You're gonna feel great about doing that, but also paying 4 mana for a 3/3 Death Toucher is also pretty solid. It's common. It's because it's 4 mana cost. You would prefer to have it in the green black color pair, but like if you only had it in green or you only had it in black, you're still going to feel okay doing it. There's a good chance you're able to if you draw this late, you can kind of attack your opponent with something, knowing that they're going to block and get rid of it, and then lay it down, and it automatically becomes a 5/5, which is a massive threat. All that makes this a really really good card. You're going to be happy to play it, and it's particularly in your green black decks, but you can slide it in easily into just green decks or just black decks and feel okay with that, especially because it's a mutant. That's like a color pair that green and blue seem to really care about. And then, like, as far as permanents leaving the battlefield, that's a ability that like black really cares about. There's a lot of sacrifice and stuff like that going on. So, yeah, it's a very solid card. You'll be very happy to have it. Next up, we have Ralph and Leo, sibling rivalries, for 3 mana, including 2 in a red-white hybrid combination. It's a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. It's a rare. It says whenever Ralph and Leo attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap 1 or 2 target attacking creatures. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase, and they are a 2/4 together. So a 3 mana 2/4 is greatly statted. It is going to obviously go best in your Boros aggro decks because of its ability and things like that. But if you end up with a big enough creature and you're able to get 2 combat attacks in, you're going to feel great about it. It's a very solid card. I don't know how well Boros is going to do, like in the long run. Just it kind of seems like there's a lot of really really big creatures in this, and like these 2/4s, and like if you have a 2/4 and a 2/2 that are swinging in, unless you're like kind of already running away with the game, it could end up not being that great. But I do think it's great. I think you're going to be really happy in the Boros deck. I think even if it only fits in the red deck or it only fits in your white deck, even though you're unable to get it down on turn 3 because of that most of the time, you're still going to be happy to have it, just because of the upside that it carries with it. It's a solid card. You're going to be happy to have it. Next up, we have Ralph and Mikey Troublemakers. It's for 7 mana, including 2 in a green-red hybrid mana. It's a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. It's got Trample and Haste. It says whenever Ralph and Mikey attack, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It's a 7/7. So a 7 mana 7/7 with Trample and Haste is already pretty good. There's, a lot of times you're just going to be able to slam this down and swing in with it immediately because of the trample. Because it is a track trigger, you're also going to be able to, instantly get some sort of value out of it. The problem is that, if you hit a 2-drop or a 3-drop and you're this late into the game, because, 7 mana is nothing to scoff at. Your opponent probably has some beefier things on their side or some removal or something like that. It's going to feel less good. But overall, I think it's got a super high upside. A lot of people aren't going to see coming like 7 mana trample haste. It's gonna kind of catch them off guard. You're gonna get some damage in with it. You're gonna feel really great about it. I think it's one of the better cards in the set. You're gonna feel great about having this card. Next up, we have Slither Encrypted. It is for 3 mana, including 1 in the green-blue hybrid combination. It's a fish mutant. It says when this creature enters, create a mutagen token. It's a 2/3. So a 3 mana 2/3 that comes in with an artifact. That's decent. It's a decent card. The fact that it's a mutant, that really matters in your green-blue pairing. The fact that it also creates an artifact is good for your blue decks. I think overall that makes it a pretty solid card. You're going to be okay to have this card. It's a great common. You're going to be able to pick it up later. It helps you, the very next turn, it can turn into a 3/4, which makes it a better attacker. So, yeah, I think all that makes it a solid playable. You'll be happy to have it. Next up, we have Splinter. Radical Rat. It's for 3 mana, including 2 in the white-black hybrid combination. It's a legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Rat. If an ability of a ninja creature you control triggers, that ability triggers at additional time. You can pay 1 generic and a blue. Target ninja can't be blocked this turn, and it is a 2/4. So this is an interesting card. You do kind of, you can either play it in like a black-blue deck or like a white-blue deck. There is enough fixing where you could splash for the blue ability and just play it in like your generic like black white deck. Um, there's a decent amount of ninjas. They have pretty awesome combat abilities. So being able to do that twice, it's going to feel pretty good. Or getting 2 triggers off of it is going to feel pretty good. I think it's perfectly statted. 3 mana, 2/4. That's a great creature. All that makes it a pretty solid card. It is sort of a build around, but there's enough ninjas going around and things like that. I mean, this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set, so there's enough going around. The ability is going to trigger. It's going to feel good when it does, and all that makes it a very solid card to play. Next up, we have Tainted Treats. It's 3 mana, including 1 in green and 1 in black. It's an instant, says destroy target artifact or creature. If its mana value was 4 or less, create a food token. I love cards like this. I think it's a great card. It's going to be one of the best removals in the set. The fact that if you basically, like, let's say they have a 2-drop or a 3-drop that is just super oppressing and you need to get rid of it, then you still get, not only do you get rid of their threat, but you also get a food token. And even if you don't get a food token, if you're able to destroy something that's of higher mana value, you're still going to feel good about it because, you paid 3 mana to get rid of a 4 mana card or 5 mana or 6 mana or however it may be. You're going to feel great about that either way. It's going to be one of the better uncommons in the set. You're going to be very happy to have it. Next up, we have Toka and Raza, Terrible Twos. They are for 2 mana. The black-red hybrid mana. It says a legendary creature, Turtle Wolf Mutant. It says this spell can't be countered. They have Menace. It says whenever a player casts a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast it was less than its mana value, Taka and Raza deal 3 damage to that player. It is a 3/2. So this is like to kind of combat like sneak, right? So like a lot of times the sneak abilities, they cost less than the actual mana value of the card. And in that case, like it'll deal 3 damage to him. A 2 mana 3/2 with Menace on its own is pretty solid. The fact that it can't be countered is solid. I don't know, countering is not really a major threat in limited, but it is nice that, it can't be countered regardless. There's a good world chance where, you're really going to want this in your Rakdos deck. Like you're going to want it in your black-red decks only so that you can make sure that you can get it out on turn 2. But it's nothing to scoff at. 2 mana for a 3/2. There's a good chance that you're able to swing in with it the next turn and get a good attack off of it. In the late game, it can still help you because, like, if your opponent had a good sneak, that maybe they second guess their sneaks, they might be low enough that the 3 damage is enough to just finish them off. Overall, I think it's a solid card. It's not like a bomb or anything, but it's a solid card. Like you're gonna be happy to play it. It's better than a lot of the other cards and things. So all that makes it very playable. You're gonna be happy to have it. And that is going to wrap us up for our multicolored. Next, we're going to jump right into our artifacts. We have, starting off with a Chrome Dome. It is 2 mana. It's an artifact creature, Robot Ninja at rare. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+0. You can pay 5 generic mana and create a token that's a copy of another target artifact you control. That token gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of your end step. So this is interesting. 2 mana 1/3 is a solid card. There is a decent amount of artifacts. A lot of them are creatures, so that makes it less good. But like there is, there's good artifact creatures and things like that. And this makes them bigger. In the late game, you can have it copy itself. So then it goes from, they each, so it and its copy will both be 2/3s, and then everything else will get like +2 instead of just +1. Those are artifacts. All that I think makes it a decent card. Like you're gonna be okay to pick this. There's some stronger uncommons and things. But if you get this like pack 2 or pack 3 and you see it and you're already going in that direction, you're going to be really, really happy to help have this also to help with the synergy and things like that. All of that I think makes it a decent card. You're going to be happy to have it. Next up, we have Everything Pizza. It's for 2 mana. It's an artifact food. It says when this artifact enters, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. You can pay 2 generic and then Wooburg to tap it, sacrifice this artifact. Target player gains 3 life and draws a card. Each of your opponents discards a card. This artifact does 3 damage to any target. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. So they do have fixing lands in this, and I think that makes this card better. If you're like a base green deck, and you're trying to be goofy or something, like you can play this card, at least one copy of it, and you'll feel okay with it. It's a 2 mana that puts another card into your hand, which is good. Those always play really well, and they're really undervalued because it's a land card, but it's still thinning your deck. You're still drawing. You're getting card advantage out of it, and if you're able to do the second ability, you're going to feel incredible. A lot of times, it's just going to win you the game, or at least get you close to it. So yeah, all that I think makes this a very playable card, especially in like a green base, because they already can kind of do the things that you need to make sure that you can have the 7 mana that you're going to need, including one of each color pair for this to really do its thing. But it's a very solid card. You're going to be okay to have this in your green deck. It kind of makes it unplayable in any other deck because if you can't get the second ability to trigger, it's just like a 2 mana food that draws you a card. This one's interesting because typically food, like the ceiling of or the floor of a food, is that you can pay 2 generic and sack it and gain life. This does not let you do that. Doesn't give you that option, so that makes it less good. But it's still solid. If you're in the right deck, you're gonna feel great about having it. If you're not exactly in a green deck, you're just gonna avoid this card. Next up, we have Hinchbots. That's for 4 mana. It's an artifact creature, a robot. It says when this creature enters, exile target tap creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. It's a 2/3. Um, so I don't really know about this card. We've seen cards in the past that like exile something until they leave. This is so situational because the creature already has to be tapped. You can't just get rid of a threat, and that makes it way worse. And then it's so understated. A lot of times with these exile cards, they purposely do that because of how strong the enters ability is. But this enters ability, because it's so situational, makes it less good. I think this is a card you're going to be able to pass on. Next up, we have Krang Ultram Warlord for 9 mana. It's a legendary artifact creature. It's an Ultram robot. It's got flying, trample, indestructible, and haste. Other artifact creatures you control have flying, trample, indestructible, and haste. So if you're able to cast this card, you're just going to win the game. Right? I mean, 9 mana, 9/9, indestructible, haste, flying, trample, gives everything else flying, trample, indestructible, haste. It's just going to win you the game. So if you're ever against an opponent and they have 9 mana, be on the lookout for this card. I do think it's going to be hard to get to 9 mana, but if you're able to do it, this card is a bomb. It's going to win you the game every single time. And there's no way that you're passing it up in draft because of how high the upside is on it. Next up, we have Omna Cheese Pizza. It's for 2 mana. It's an artifact food. It says when this artifact enters, you can draw a card. You can pay 1, sacrifice it, add 1 mana of any color. You can pay 2, sacrifice it, you gain 3 life. I think this is an excellent card. It's a 2 mana card that replaces itself. So it's 2 mana, you lay it down and get something else. It's an artifact, which matters. It's a food, which matters. It goes very well into all sorts of decks. It can go well in sacrifice decks. It can go well in artifact decks. You can pay 1 if you need to get like a certain mana color. If you're trying to like splash for something, or you can just do the thing where you pay 2 and then you gain the life. So either way, you're gonna be very happy with this. It's a common. You're going to be able to pick it up later, and it's always going to feel great. And you're probably going to play at least one of these in any of your decks. Next up, we have the Ooze. It's for 2 mana. It's a legendary artifact at rare. It says whenever a creature you controls with a +1/+1 counter on it leaves the battlefield, create a mutagen token for each +1/+1 counters on it. Again, a mutagen token, you can pay 1, sacrifice it, and put a +1/+1 counter on anything. And then you can tap this card, exile target card from a graveyard to create a mutagen token. So a 2 mana do nothing card is not that great. But the fact that it's only 2 mana is okay. Even in the faster formats, like having nothing to do on turn 2 isn't necessarily a death sentence. You're just gonna have to make sure that you have a great 3-drop play. The fact that like this can help exile things from graveyards. There's a little bit of graveyard stuff going on. It seems like this is more of like sacrifice. It's not a crazy good thing, but like being able to target something if they are trying to bring it back or anything from the graveyard, it's going to feel great. And then just being able to create more and more mutagen tokens, it's going to go great because those are artifacts. There's a lot of stuff that cares about artifacts entering the battlefield. All that I think makes it solid. Again, it's a 2 mana do nothing on the turn that it comes down, and that always feels bad. But again, if it's early enough and you lay it down, it's like, okay, sure, I can stabilize from this. And if it's later in the game and you already have things with +1/+1 counters going on and you're able to lay this down, it's going to feel a lot better because of all the mutagen tokens you're going to be able to generate off of it, especially if you already have like synergies going on with artifacts and things like that, or with the +1/+1 counters. All that I think makes it up. Like it's not unplayable. It's not even like situational. Like you'll be okay to have it. It's 2 mana, so it fits into it's colorless mana, so it fits into any deck. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just like it's there. It's an okay card. Next up, we have Skateboard for 1 mana. It's an artifact equipment at uncommon. It says when this equipment enters, tap target permanent. Equip creature is +1/+0 and has haste. You can equip it for 1 mana. So, uh, this can be pretty solid. It's a 1 mana card. It's an artifact. So you can play it down early and be okay with it. You can play it down later and you'd be even more okay with it because of the artifact, because of the enters ability. And it's so cheap to equip to something. Gives it haste. You're going to be happy to have this card. There's a world where like, you have 4 mana, you have 2 drop. You lay down your 2 drop, you lay down this 1 drop card, and then you have the 1 extra mana to equip it to it. It gives it haste, it gives it the +1, and you tap something to theirs and can get in for a decent hit. That's going to feel pretty good. So yeah, I think it's going to be best in like the Boros aggro decks, but even in other decks, like, you're going to be okay with having at least one of these. The artifact, the blue red Izzet deck's going to be okay with this as well. I think it's a solid card. Next up, we have Technodome. It's for 2 mana. It's an artifact creature construct. It's got reach and trample. So this creature can attack or block unless its power is 6 or greater. You can tap it to sacrifice another artifact, draw a card, and put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So this is another 2 mana do nothing card. I do think its upside is a little bit better than the other 2 mana, just because if you're able to sacrifice stuff, you can make this bigger. If you already have mutagen tokens laying around, all those things are going to make it feel good. Being able to draw a card is going to feel great. I still think it's a mythic, so clearly they had this in mind for other formats where it's going to be a lot more backbreaking than in limited. Like limited, I think there's too many restrictions to really make this like a crazy card. But I think it's worth trying out at least once. Like you're gonna want to try this card out. Like if you get a chance to try it out, you're not going to pass up on it. I don't think it's great in limited. Uh, my better judgment tells me I should just like say, hey, you can't play this unlimited. But I do think there's enough artifacts, there's enough mutagen stuff going on, and like it just looks like fun. Like if you get it, you're gonna want to play it just to try it out. Sacrificing 3 things isn't gonna be that hard. It's gonna go great in like the green black decks. It's gonna go great in like the blue red decks. It's going to go great in the green blue decks. So yeah, I mean, I think there's enough synergy that it's not completely unplayable or anything like that, but it is very situational. It is a mythic, 2 mana 3/3 with a lot of upside, helps you draw cards. I think that kind of the drawing the card is what really makes it better than anything. Because yeah, you're sacrificing something, but you're making this bigger, and you're also replacing whatever you sacrifice. So all that makes it pretty solid. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, but we're going to say that it's like a solid card, and we'll see how it plays out. Next up, we have Turtle Blip. It is for 5 mana. It's an artifact vehicle. It's got flying. It says this vehicle enters, create a 2/2 red mutant creature token. You can crew 2, and it becomes an attacker, a 3/4 flyer. So this card's great. It's a 5 mana that gives you an artifact and a 2/2 body. The very next turn, you can crew the 2/2 to start swinging in with it. I think all that makes it very solid. You're going to feel very happy to have this, especially in like you can go into like a red blue deck. You can go into like your red white aggro decks. It can go into your green blue decks. Anything that cares about artifacts entering and anything that cares about mutants. And it does both that. I think it fits in nicely with a lot of decks. You're gonna be happy to have this. Next up, we have Turtle Van for 3 mana. It's an artifact vehicle. It says when this vehicle attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that crewed at this turn. Then, if that creature is a mutant, ninja, or turtle, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. You can crew it for just 1 mana. I think this card's great. A 3 mana 4/4 that in the early game, like you lay this down on turn 3, you can crew it on your opponent's step to help you block things, and in the late game, you can crew it to swing in and then make a lot of your creatures bigger. You're going to have turtles laying around. You're going to have mutants. You're going to have ninjas. There's a lot of situations where you're just making something massive because of this. I think it's a solid card. You're going to be happy to play with it because it's a colorless. You can fit it into any deck. Again, you're going to particularly want to make sure that you have enough mutants, ninjas, and turtles. But because of the set having all 3 of those words in it, I don't think that's going to be very hard to do. We have Weathermaker. It's for 3 mana. It's an artifact. It's got landfall. It says whenever a land you control enters, put a charge counter on this artifact. You can tap it and add 1 mana of any color. You can tap it, remove 2 charge counters on it to add double colorless, and then you can tap it, remove 3 charge counters from it, and it does 3 damage to any target. So again, this is a 3 mana rock that does nothing when it enters. That's just not good in limited. It does have high upside. Being able to just like basically play the game lets you add charge counters to this, and maybe that 3 damage ends up mattering. It kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. If you're in like a 3 color deck, you're splashing something, you're gonna be okay with playing it. But a lot of times, like it's just gonna be too hard to really get there. Like if this is what your 3 drop is, and then your opponent's laying down a creature, and then another creature, and another creature, and you're just trying to stabilize, it's not going to feel as great. 3 mana rocks have not been anything groundbreaking. This does have high upside. I think that makes it better than just like a straight up F or even like a D card. Like you'll play this, you'll be okay with it. But I do think there's like stronger uncommons and rares, mythics, and things like that that would kind of hold this back from just being spectacular. Okay, and last up, we have our lands. We don't have too many of these, so we will just dive right in here. The first one is going to be these are our game lands. We see these often. It's come back. They've called them something different. So each one of them is a different color pair. It's a 2 mana color pair. Helps you splash, gains you a life when it enters. That's not nothing, especially in limited. So yeah, I think all these make some solid lands. You'll prioritize them. You'll especially prioritize them if you have like some crazy thing that you want to splash. We just saw all of our multicolor stuff. I don't know too many cards that I would say is like worth a splash, but it is still good to have that upside there. Next up, we have Escape Tunnel. You can sacrifice land, search your library for basic land, put it onto the battlefield tap. You can pay 2, sacrifice this land, target creature with power 2 or less cannot be blocked this turn. I think there's enough combat abilities that makes the second part, the sacrifice, so that something with power 2 or less can be blocked good in the late game. And then in the early game, just being able to like fix if you're fixing or anything is going to feel solid as well. It's another solid land. You're going to be happy to play this. Next up, we have Northampton Farm. It is a rare. It says you can tap it for colorless mana. You can pay 1 and tap it to exile target creature you own, and you can pay 2 and tap it, sacrifice this land, return a creature card exiled with this land to the battlefield under your control. Return each other card exiled with this land to its owner's hand. This card's not good. It just, basically gives you colorless mana. If you have like a strong enough enters ability and the games go late, I mean, maybe the exile's worth it, but the fact that you only get to do it one time. I've looked through the set. There's not like any enchantments that you can attach onto this. There's one enchantment in white that lets you attach, but it has to attach to a basic land, and this isn't a basic land. So there's no world where like you can get extra value by like attaching an enchantment to this and exiling an opponent's creature, and then you're able to play your opponent's creature while also bouncing yours back to your hand. Like that's just not going to happen with this card in this set, and that makes this card just unplayable. Like you can pass on it. And the last land card we have is Turtle.I. It is an uncommon land. You can tap it for colorless. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, but you can only spend it to cast ninjas or turtle spells. You can pay 3 and tap it, and then a target ninja or turtle you control can't be blocked this turn. Again, I think there's enough ninja and turtles in this set. I think that they have a decent amount of like combat triggers that like the 3 paying 3 to tap it to make it unblockable is going to feel good, and then it'll help you cast those cards as well, which is great. I think this is a strong land. You're going to take high priority over it, and you'll be pretty happy to have it. And that is going to wrap us up for our multicolor, our artifacts, and our lands. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Again, everything you do helps the channel grow, helps me become a better Magic player along the way. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune the video. I hope your draft goes well. I hope your pre-release goes well, and I hope this video helped you out in any way, shape, or form. If it did, again, like a comment, just viewing the video, everything you all are doing, it just helps it so much, helps me. I appreciate your time that you took to watch this, and be on the lookout for our next one. And the next one, we're going to be covering all the white cards in the set.